good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. And of course, I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. We have a bunch of incredible podcast members with us tonight. We are still waiting on Wandering Dutch, as well as, of course, the slanderous one known as Everborn Saga, who is running behind. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about a lot of ongoings. I mean, it's been very busy with gaming news. Obviously, we're going to be talking about Iron Man, as you saw the lead thumbnail change. And we're going to be then talking about the incredible talent that's going to be coming to Xbox Game Studios once this Activision Blizzard deal is done. I have a lot to say about the studios joining. And we're also going to get into a conversation where this weekend, I saw a lot of people not happy that Call of Duty is going to go back to potentially being bi-year or even every 3 years like it used to be, and that these studios, these 8 talented studios, should somehow remain in the salt mines of Call of Duty. And speaking of salt mines, Kay Asante, what's up, brother? How you feeling?
Man, I'm doing good. How are you guys? How's everybody in the chat realm? It's a great evening to talk some games and stuff. I'm happy to be here. It's been one of those weeks, man. I'm not sure how I feel, but we're here talking games now, so I'm happy. So I'm happy to be here, and you have some good topics to sink our teeth into. So I'm happy to talk about it with you guys. So where is Everborn Saga? He should be here soon.
He's good. The slanderous one will be here. He has a lot to say about the on the second half of the show. Today we're going to be talking about those 8 studios. And mind you, what's really bonkers about the conversation is that these 8 studios are working on one game, and they're now going to be allowed to go back to doing what they do best, and that's making original content. Like a storied developer like Raven Studios. I mean, they've made some incredible games. One of my favorite that no one's ever played, or at least doesn't remember playing, is Singularity, which I talked about before. You know, just imagine if you, because we know how Phil Spencer and they are at Xbox. They let people make what they want, and I'm hoping that we get to see something like, I don't know, a Banjo Rebirth or a Conquer Rebirth by Toys for Bob. I mean, we're going to get into all the studios, but before we do, Crispy Bomb, how the heck are you?
Oh, what's up, gentlemen? What is up, chat? And yes, we are ready to roll. We got some interesting topics nobody else is talking about, so let's get into it.
Yeah, that's one of the intriguing things about doing as many shows as I do, is that you can't regurgitate the same stuff. I mean, sometimes things happen, like, I don't know, Jim Ryan steps on his own D, and you got to talk about it because, well, why wouldn't you? But you know what? We are going to get into Iron Man. We are going to get into these studios, and again, the question is going to be raised and has been raised as soon as this weekend. Again, people are suggesting that because Microsoft is going to take over Call of Duty, that somehow it's going to fall apart because they're not going to be forcing these studios like Activision was, and 8 studios to make one game. I still think that, developers like Infinity Ward know exactly what they're doing, but we're going to break that down in a second. Mag, let's not forget you, brother.
Yes.
First of all, it's great to see you, Mag. How's it going, and really what you've been up to?
Well, first of all, I want to say hello to everybody on the panel, everybody on the chat. It has been one heck of a busy week since I came off of COVID. I did the Xbox Infinite podcast on Friday. I was with Colt Eastwood and Gaz on Monday. And now I'm here again today for my regular Wednesday night spot. It has been one hell of a crazy week. Been a lot of great times. Met a lot of new people. But enough of all that. I got to tell you, on the gaming front, I got to say, I waited the full year, okay? I avoided the FOMO. I did not get it, but now I got it. Thank you, Game Pass. I finally downloaded and ready to play Deathloop, and I also saw that new trailer for PSVR 2.
Actually, I was literally almost late to my own show playing Deathloop. I'm quite enjoying it. I bought it for the PlayStation 5, but I really wanted to play through it on the Xbox, and now we can do that. But, I got to tell you, Mag, the golden rule is to make sure you play before you play Arcane Studios' masterpiece. You got to clean up the death loop around your death hoop.
That's right, Boom. And for the times that you fail, you try and try again. You have to reach for Manscaped.
And make sure that death hoop is clean and presentable for your next attempt at romance.
And Lord knows, if you want your partner to have a real interactive, immersive experience around your penis VR2, you better virtually get your hands on Manscaped. Boom. Tell the fine folks at home what you can get with Manscaped if you order now.
You can go to manscaped.com and type in the code DBG20 for 20% off your entire order and free shipping. And also make sure to check out the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker, and the amazing Manscaped Boxers with the dual pouch technology, as well as the Performance Package 4.0. Obviously, Manscaped has once again graced Double Barrel Gaming with obviously partnering with us through the remainder of the rest of the month of September. And of course, again, remember manscaped.com, tell them Boom sent you, and use the code DBG20 at checkout for 20% off and free shipping off your entire order. Thank you so much for once again writing that incredible and very funny ad, Mag. And I mean, I almost did make it through it because it is
well, you cracked about halfway through. It's okay.
There's
So did I.
There's nothing like saying death hoop for your death loop. You know, it's pretty incredible. But
when I was at work, do you know what it's like, Boom? You're sitting in my office. I'm trying to be all professional in a corporate setting, and I'm writing on a piece of paper. Everybody thinks I'm doing something big for the corporation, and I'm writing penis VR2 on a piece of paper and trying not to laugh and with other people looking at me. It's really it's really funny. But anyways, go to Manscaped, guys. Come on, let's do it. Let's get right into the show. Asante, stop laughing.
Yes. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, as we wait for the rest of our panel to get in here, we got to talk about one of the biggest stories that happened just yesterday. And folks, we have confirmation that EA, or Electronic Arts Motive Studio, has announced, folks, that it is making an Iron Man game. Now, this is being developed in collaboration with Marvel Games. This is a single player, third-person action adventure game. And the title is currently, it's secret, but it is an Iron Man game, and it is in pre-productions as where the game is right now, pre-production only. Now, I pulled this story from good friends of the community, videogameschronicle.com, and they had to say this: the game's development team is being led by executive producer Oliver Prowl, who previously worked on Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy over at Eidos Montreal. And here is what Marvel Games Vice President and Creative Director Bill Rosman had to say about this collaboration. We are thrilled to collaborate with the talented team at Motive Studios to bring their original vision of one of Marvel's most important, powerful, and beloved characters. Their experience in delivering both established entertainment worlds and thrilling gameplay, combined with their authentic passion for the armored icon, will fuel your quest to deliver a love letter to a legendary hero in the form of the ultimate Iron Man video game. And here is what Motive. Now, if you didn't know, like, who's Motive? Like, what are they doing? What have they done? Well, they are obviously working on the Dead Space reboot, which looks bonkers good, and they also were tasked to develop Star Wars Squadrons, which was pretty good. Now, there is a quote that I want to read from them, and this is what they had to say: "It's an honor and a privilege to have the opportunity to make a video game based on one of the most iconic superheroes in entertainment today," said Iron Man executive producer Proud. "We have a great opportunity to create a new and unique story that we can call our own. Marvel is encouraging us to create something fresh. We have a lot of freedom, which is going to be so engaging for the team." And what's interesting is that EA is also making a single player open world Black Panther game. So so what's going on with EA is not only do they have the Star Wars licenses, they also have the Marvel licenses. And I gotta be honest with you, I heard a lot of people talking about this when this was announced Are they going to use the Anthem technology that BioWare did for the game? That, the game itself wasn't the greatest, but man, those flying mechanics were spot on. I don't know if they're going to use it, but man, they should. Let's go to Crispy on this. Crispy, this is big news. Obviously the MCU was extremely popular. It continues to garner fans across the world, make millions and millions of dollars in the film. And now we're starting to see the games. Now, obviously it's no longer just Spider-Man. It's no longer just Miles Morales. And obviously Sony still has Wolverine coming in a couple of years. Now we're going to start to see it spread out. And obviously this is going to be a third-party game. But besides your excitement for Iron Man the game, is this an opportunity to Phil Spencer to get to maybe get marketing rights early and often on these Marvel games before Sony gets their hands on it?
Got to do something at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
you already got Wolverine and Spider-Man just chilling over there, and we don't get to touch that. So I'm not a good feeling, unless you got a good PC, you can run these things, or maybe they get their cloud gaming going a little better than like doing this weird streaming off your console thing that only works in certain spots. Other than that, this is where we go and say competition, like, dude, relax with that. Like, you guys, we don't get to play these games. You get to play, just like if Call of Duty was exclusive, you wouldn't get to play it. It's called purchasing or making a deal for the licensing, one or the other. Now, that being said, we also look at Microsoft like, bro, how is EA, who has sucked wind on many Star Wars franchises at this point? Some of them are okay, but lately, besides Squadrons, I believe, right? That was it was the flying one, and most people liked that, right? Other than that, I mean, Battlefront,
Battlefront 1, I mean, they both had problems. They unfortunately, they were riddled with microtransactions.
And then you go and say, okay, well, obviously, because Anthem's sitting there doing nothing, there's assets there that they could probably use. Okay, it is quite possible. Not saying they're going to use the whole game or nothing, but the flying, I mean, I played the game. I played the demo. The flying was pretty satisfying in that game, I must say. A lot of other things needed a lot of help, and it is kind of unfortunate that they gave up on that game, but also maybe this has always been sitting there. You know what I mean? And they said, well, we tried, but we got something better for this type of stuff anyway. That's what I'm thinking at this point. And I, Motive is proven to be, a pretty good developer at this point. So, it's not like you're just handing it to somebody who just doesn't want to do it. If they didn't want to do it, I hope they wouldn't have it. So it was kind of like, oh, wouldn't you think BioWare would be the obvious choice? No, because they screwed up. You know what I mean? But they're still like, hopefully they share stuff just like Microsoft does, and they have the assets sitting there, and you don't have to start from complete scratch. You know what I mean? So that's a possibility that could help in how long it takes. But we're also all sitting here like, Microsoft, like, you got to get an IP, bro. Like, I don't care what it is. Get a full-on Hulk game. I don't know, something, man.
Someone actually just said that in the chat. As a matter of fact, where is? Let me see. Someone legitimately just said they should get the Hulk and do like an ultimate. Remember the Hulk game on the old Xbox? That was
that Ultimate Destruction? Was
yeah,
that the one?
Ultimate
Yes,
Destruction was
that was a great game.
Freaking good, man.
Yeah. So I mean, dude, Phil, man, like, not like this is the first time we're saying it, and I think everybody else is gonna have kind of the same sentiment. What are you doing? Or at the least, let's get, make sure it's in, not getting special stuff on, Sony's side. Like, that's what we hate even more. Like, dude, like, come on, like, you got to give us a bone here. Throw it in Game Pass. Let's go, Phil. Like, get that deal ready. Like, but still, like, we need. There's so many other, Marvel universe type things that you can get into. Like, we haven't seen anything from you. Like, I understand you don't want to do a ton of licenses, but we need a bone here. If you could do Indiana Jones, you can give us something from Marvel. Come on.
Yeah, I actually think you're onto something. We've talked about this not only on this program. I've talked about this specifically on numerous programs regarding Microsoft's reluctance, or really Phil Spencer's reluctance, to sign up and license out IP, because he has an ideology where he wants total control of an IP. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they might be a little gun shy with things that happened in the past. Obviously, some of the IPs. We got to remember when Microsoft only had 5 or 6 studios, or even 4 studios, when it was really just Gears, Halo, and Forza. They had to depend on third and second party, and some of those collaborations didn't work out like the way that they wanted. Some of the IP they don't have no control over. So I totally get it. But see, Marvel is a different animal. When they revamped this video game electronics division of Marvel to coincide with the MCU, they specifically said that they wanted people, developers as well as publishers, to play in their world, come tell new stories, design games, or design Marvel, use Marvel characters to tell your story. I know Microsoft has so much going on and they have so much in development. I know people are gonna be like, boom, how much do you want them to do? But I mean, everyone's making a Marvel game except Microsoft. It's a bit of a head scratcher, to be honest with you, but I'm happy that Iron Man is coming out. I don't know what technology they're going to use, but when we get to see this playing, if it flies anything like Anthem, it's going to be amazing. This is so early. We don't know the story. We don't know if it's going to have other heroes in it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure if you're Sony, you're going to try and put Spider-Man in there and hold it back from everybody. But that's, we'll talk about that when that happens. KSONs, let's get your opinion on this. This is big news. Iron Man is iconic, obviously, and we know that they have Motive has the chops, man. I mean, they're doing great work with Dead Space. Star Wars Squadrons was very well received. It was very Rogue Squadron-esque, if you will.
I played Star Wars Squadrons in VR, all of it, and absolutely great game.
Wow,
absolutely great. Yeah. Motive, for those who don't remember, Motive did Battlefront 2, the campaign, which was
sure did,
the part
which
of the
awesome.
The part of it that was good was the
it.
campaign, and they did that. Yeah, I've been following Motive for quite some time, actually. The one of the creatives on Assassin's Creed, what's her name? They say she has a curse. I forget her name.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember either.
She's known
in the chat.
Jade Raymond. Jade Raymond.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Jade Raymond, known as one of the creators of Assassin's Creed.
Yep.
She created Motive, right? And then she went to Motive, and not much happened. And she left Motive, and then they've started releasing a few things here and there. So I've been keeping an eye on Motive, and I think some IGN folks also work there now as well. So very interesting studio. I've been keeping up with some of their stuff, and like I said, the some of their Star Wars output has been quite good. So whenever anytime they say they're doing anything third person action adventure, focusing on story, very story driven, I'm very excited about that, because Motive seems to pay as much attention to the writing as they do the coding and the graphics and all of that as well. They really want to be the next storyteller kind of studio. They haven't really so far, nothing they've done has hit it out the park to a point where people know them as, hey, they've arrived yet, but they're really looking for that one good thing to really establish them, right? So I am pretty excited about this, because we live in a world where Insomniac Spider-Man exists, right? So before, we lived in a world where you'd hear a tie-in, an IP tie-in is coming out, and you're like, whatever. But basically, Spider-Man has laid the groundwork. It has set a standard, right? As has Batman and all those others that have come before them. So I would consider, we're talking EA here, so we always have to set our expectations accordingly. But I would consider Motive EA is one of EA's prestige studios. They're not there churning out sports games, right? They're not there just continuously, doing the same thing. They're allowed to be creative and do interesting things. So, I am excited to see what they do with this. And I'm suspecting that they would have ambitions like, hey, we saw what Insomniac did with a Spider-Man, with a a Marvel property. Let us put ourselves on the board there and shoot our shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would be weird not to do that, right? In a world where Insomniac was given a Marvel property and it basically has turned them into, you know, the darlings of the gaming world because they can do no wrong with Marvel.
Pretty much.
You're also getting that chance now. That's an awesome opportunity. So I don't think they would take that lying down. You know what I'm saying? So I am looking forward to what they do with it. Now, my question is, what engine will they use?
Well, hopefully it's not the Frostbite. That's for
this
sure.
is my question.
Yeah,
and you know where I'm going with it. You know,
Mhm.
I hope they don't use the Frostbite engine, and I hope Zempella is somewhere advising them, because they need an advocate in EA, because we all know that in that place bureaucracy tends to overshadow creativity. You know, and they definitely need to be creative on this one, right? They need to knock this out the park. Fresh story. You know, this is for them to win, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's for them to win. All you had to do was slap MCU on it, and everybody would be excited. You know, and so yeah, we shall see. We shall see. Now, my final question on all this before I give up the mic is, you know, if this doesn't work out, will Disney finally stop constantly giving IPs to EA? Because it seems like their track record is a little bit spotty.
Oh, their track record is very spotty, to say the least. I mean,
how bad must they mess it up, you know, at some point before it's like, all right, enough, you give us that back.
I would say that if it's anything like Anthem, then yes, it's a failure, because Anthem had a whole bunch of things going for it, and it was supposed to be the Destiny killer, and it went not even making a fart. So unfortunately,
although to your point, they did in Anthem, just like you could say Insomniac was basically they put out their resume in the form of Sunset Overdrive, which got them the shot that was Spider-Man. You could say Anthem was the resume building exercise for the inevitable Iron Man. So hopefully the end of the story is still they made something great, and that's all we remember, right? We don't know yet. Let's see if history repeats itself and their next thing is amazing, and then we meant to do that all along. Anthem was just a long, drawn-out experiment to work out this whole Iron Man mechanic.
Oh God! Well, it's hopefully that's not the case at all. But again, only time is because I'm super stoked for it. I love superhero games. I'm very excited for Spider-Man 2, Wolverine. This obviously next month we have the Court of Owls Batman game coming out, which I'm super stoked for. Court of Owls, if you don't know that ever read that story, is up there as one of the best Batman stories ever told. Honestly, it's up there with like the Long Halloween, the laughing joke. There's quite a few top-notch stories for Batman. That happens to be one of them, and the fact that we're going to be playing that, I can't wait. But Mag, let's get your opinion on this. Are you excited for Motive, who again has put out a couple of good ones, right? Obviously, we know that they worked on Star Wars Squadrons, very well received. They did the single player campaign, which was excellent, by the way, for Battlefront 2. They're currently working on Dead Space, which we've seen a lot of, and it looks really good. I'm excited, but are you excited for an Iron Man game?
Yes, I am. And I got to tell you something about Motive is they are slowly but surely emerging as a AAA powerhouse. And it's something that they've been sort of cultivating over the last, let's say about 6 years or so, as they're getting these names, in their in their resume of these big games that they've already released thus far. Now, I know some people have said some things about Battlefront, whatever else. That had nothing to do with Motive or anybody else working, or DICE working on the game. That was a publisher level decisions with the microtransaction, all that stuff. They had nothing to do with that stuff, right? But what they did do was outstanding. Now, the thing is, the proof of the pudding is going to be this January. Is it January or February when Dead Space comes out? I can't remember.
I think
it's January.
Yeah, I think it's the first month of the year.
Right. Okay. So I think it's towards the end of January or whatever. Anyway, the point is, it's somewhere around there. When we sit down and play that, because I'm super pumped for that. That's already one of my most anticipated games. Is that for 2023?
Your horror buff, so that works out.
January 27th.
Yeah. January 27th? Okay, so there we go. So that's going to be basically like their tryout, so to speak. You know what I mean? To see if they can really pull off a full blown on their own AAA experience, right? So there's that. Now, I got to give props where props and credit is due. Boom has been saying since early 2020, okay, before any of this came out, we talked about Anthem so many times. I got you guys, anybody who watched our show or anybody knows the man, this man has been screaming about an Iron Man game since Anthem was first revealed. Okay, so even before I even did a show with Boom, for the first time, I used to listen to his shows, and every single week that Anthem came up, he would say, why don't they just turn this damn game into an Iron Man game? It's practically there. And like I said, Boom's been saying it for years. So now it's finally happening. Guys, use the flight code that they used in Anthem.
Yeah,
clean it up a
100%.
bit. Do whatever you got to do. Clearly, the damn thing works. So why not, right? I know, like we've said it before. They talked about Superman and stuff like that because of the flight mechanics. But the thing is, Iron Man, you're in a suit, so you don't have to worry as much about flailing arms and legs like as if you were Superman or something like that, right? You're in a suit, so it still has the same sort of mechanics and of course appearance as those mechs did in Anthem, right? So I think it'd be just fine. Now, another interesting thing. This is more of a selfish thing on my part. Obviously, this is going to be a multi-plat game. Please, if you're going to do this, make a supplemental game for the PSVR 2. Like they did with that other Iron Man demo. Remember that? They had a demo for the PSVR 1. Make a next-gen version for the PSVR 2.
That actually wasn't a demo. That was the full game. It was just the PSVR.
Oh, was it a full game?
It was a full game. It was just PSVR 1 was so trash I couldn't finish it. Great game otherwise. It was just
you know what I was
trash.
thinking of? Sorry, you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of, remember the Batman one? What the hell was it? The Arkham one that they just did just a single mission or something like that?
Yeah.
Sorry, I got it confused with
Rocksteady's you put on the helmet and you're looking in the mirror and you're Batman. Yes.
Sorry, I was thinking of that one.
So good.
So good, absolutely.
It was more like a technical thing.
Yeah,
it was like a tech demo essentially.
I'll never forget, folks. Now I have American Indian blood running through me, so I'm not afraid of heights. Right, that's from my grandfather's side. If you didn't know, and I saw people they would I genuinely used to do this a lot. When people see something and they freak them out, I remember looking over the side like this. And seeing all the way down, and my wife, Mrs. Boom, was like, "What are you looking at?" I'm like, "You're not gonna believe this." I'm looking out. I'm just peeking over the edge, and I was like, "This is life."
It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely. So do this with Iron Man. Can you imagine how exhilarating it would be if they got the PSVR 2 specs are exactly what they said they are, with the 4K in each lens and all the kind of stuff, and the 130 frames per second and everything else. Can you imagine how breathtaking that would be and how fun that would be? I would be in there. I mean, or maybe even vomit-inducing for some, but hell with them. I want it for me. But anyways, that's just my thought. Here's the other thing. Microsoft, get behind this. Get behind this. Get the marketing for this. Get this thing going.
Oh, 100%, dude. Yes.
Do this. And the reason why is you guys were just talking about it before. Asante was talking about it. Crispy was talking about it. And now I'm talking about it. The one thing that Sony does really well is that they take care of their player base in terms of giving the PlayStation a pop culture identity. That is a huge thing. And you look at the names that PlayStation has, right? Your God of Wars, your Spideys, your Miles Morales, your Wolverines, your Call of Duty marketing, your GTA marketing, that kind of thing. Get some of these names on the Xbox side. Obviously they made an attempt, as we slowly but surely have been hearing over time. They made an attempt with WB at one point, but pushed away from the table because of the licensing agreements, right? So they walked around the car and kicked the tires a few times when WB was having some trouble, right? So they made an attempt at DC, maybe a half-hearted attempt, but it was still kind of there. You know what? Start working on the marketing on some of these games, because these are recognizable names that are not going to fail. Maybe I'm not saying the game's not going to fail, but the name doesn't fail. Now, the other thing that I was going to say, interestingly, from the motive point of view, is that if this is not MCU based, right, and just Iron Man, the character, they get the rights to that, you're facing a different battle. And the battle that you're going to face is the same battle that the guy Square faced when they made the Avengers, because everybody would associate every one of those characters, from Thor to Iron Man to Black Panther to everybody else, that was in between. It wasn't the ones we know from the films. And because of that, a lot of people have a prejudice against that. And that is a thing.
Although I will say, you know, people speak, and you're absolutely right. But then people did end up playing something like Guardians of the Galaxy, and although they were kind of a shell of their game self, people were like, "Hey, this game is good enough. It transcended the ridiculous character models, and it still won out." So we're hoping
You're
we're getting one
absolutely
of
right.
those. You know what I mean?
Now, you're right. You're 100% right there, too. Now, however, though, they were also smart when they made the Guardians of the Galaxy game that they also released all the MCU skins. And the voices were somewhat close enough. And the funny thing is, I didn't even realize it until after. I actually laughed at myself when I unlocked all those skins, because, you know, I'm one of those guys. I collect everything. I collect all the little boxes, all the little collectibles, getting all those achievements and trophies.
Tchotchke man. Yes, we know.
Yeah, you know, that's what I do, right? I'm a completionist.
Well,
so I
you're
unlocked
also
all those...
Mr. Platinum, by the way.
Yeah, apparently.
That's
But,
for you,
Platinum
Asante.
I don't sound bitter at all. Let's go. Continue.
Hey,
yes.
you got to do it too. Here's the thing. The thing is, I didn't even realize I was doing it until after I had done it. I had changed every single one of their costumes into the MCU costumes. Because subconsciously, I wanted them to be the MCU characters. Now, let's talk about Iron Man now. Who casts the biggest shadow in the MCU? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's face it, Sir Robert Downey
North can do
Jr.
it.
Esquire.
Nolan North has done it. He can do it, you know, as long as the game.
You know what? Honestly,
I
would love Robert Downey to reprise the role and do the voice
hell no.
acting.
There is no way on God's green earth that'll happen. Why do you think Iron Man's dead in the MCU? They can't pay that man anymore. It's too much.
No, he costs way too much money, but you never know. He might be like a Harrison Ford. You see how Harrison Ford was an asshole for, excuse my language, for like 30 years, and now as soon as he reaches his twilight years, he's like, "Oh, hell with it! I'll make every Indiana Jones and Han Solo movie ever." And he's going back to all his old IPs because now he's getting old and nostalgic, and he's not even asking for a ton of money either. So like, you never know. I'm just saying, right? So, like, it's a possibility. But anyway, like I said, Robert Downey Jr. casts a big shadow on that role. You know, it's going to be the same thing when they release that open world Black Panther game. Okay? We all know what happened to Chadwick. It's a tragedy in itself. The fact that they're going to have to get another voice actor in there, you know, everybody and their uncles who are going to play Black Panther are going to say, well, that ain't Chadwick. Right? And it's going to be a problem, so that they're going to have to fight that problem by making one hell of an outstanding game, like Asante was saying, like Guardians of the Galaxy, that people in the first 10 minutes will forget all about it and move forward. That is
to your point, Matt, about Black Panther. They actually just did that. Remember, they released the Black Panther DLC inside Avengers. Who played him? So good. Chris Judge.
Yeah.
It was not the real T'Challa. It just wasn't.
Oh yeah, of course it wasn't. But it was so good, I can look past it.
But we looked past it. That's right.
I looked past it because it was an outstanding experience. I actually was
to your point. You know, exactly to your point. The game needs to be outstanding to bypass all these.
That's right. Gotchas, that's a hurdle. You know? That is a hurdle because people are going to look at it. Now, when I put on the Black Panther DLC for the Avengers, in the first 10 minutes, I was doing screenshots. When I'm doing screenshots, when I'm wasting my time taking screenshots, you know that I'm impressed because I don't have a lot of time to take screenshots. I don't sit there farting around with the photo mode in games and stuff like that, making Kratos smile and do selfies. I don't have time for that stuff. Okay, but when I am taking pictures like that, that means I'm impressed. So the thing is, within the first 5-10 minutes of that game, I forgot. No, I hate to say that. That sounds so rude. That I forgot about Chadwick Boseman, but I'm saying I stopped comparing. What I meant to say is that I stopped comparing to Chadwick Boseman, right? And I looked at the character of Black Panther himself. So I wasn't even thinking about that. So that is a challenge that Motive has with Iron Man because Robert Downey casts that huge shadow. By the way, there's a super chat. This is not off topic, but somewhat. Someone in the super chats, which I'm sure you'll get to, was talking about a Doctor Strange as well. Yeah. Let me tell you something. Can you guys imagine with an Unreal Engine 5, let's get an open world action RPG of Doctor Strange in the vein of Hogwarts with the same magic mechanics that they're using. Yeah. With the magic mechanics they're using in the new Harry Potter game or a Hogwarts game. How fantastic would that be? Sorry, that was just a little side note. I was just thinking about it right now. But anyways, I'm excited for this. But you know what? Like I said, you know what your NFL tryout is this year is going to be Dead Space. If Dead Space hits it, if Dead Space lands, sticks the landing, then we can really get pumped for an Iron Man game, and then we can really rub our hands together. So let's see how they do with this one first, because like I said, this is their audition, and then we'll take it from there. So either way, I'm interested, and color me intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's another superhero game to add to the likes of what was already available out there in 2 Spider-Man games, a third one coming next year, Wolverine potentially the year or the following year after that. Obviously, listen, superheroes are big, folks. It may not be your bag, but it makes money. And I'm glad that Motive is getting another shot. Because I think they are a very talented studio. And their prior works speak for themselves. Like, it literally, speaks for themselves. I don't know about you folks, but the more superhero games, the better. Before we move on to the next topic, and this one I'm kind of shooting from the hip a little bit because I didn't have it in the show notes, but we had 2 big reveals on hardware today. We got the new PlayStation VR 2.0 trailer, which looked it looked great. Now again, we'll talk about price. It's Sony and obviously on your show Saturday, Asante, we did hear a crackpot theory from the Slanders one.
That
suggested that the
leave it to the crackpot.
the peoples that are buying new PlayStation 5s are actually funding.
But you know what though?
He's not wrong. I agree with it.
Though? I mean, it's like you're bundling in the Kinect without giving you the Kinect. It's what it is.
And we also got that, but that wasn't the only one. On the Xbox Wire, right? It was announced that they have partnered with Logitech, and they have their own handheld coming out. Now, granted, it's being made by Logitech, which is a great company. It's called the G Cloud handheld, and what's interesting is during TGS, Phil Spencer was standing right along with Kojima-san, who was holding and playing something, and people were like, what is it? And here it is, folks. We'll talk about that. I pre-ordered it because I don't have a Steam Deck. I had mine pre-ordered. Steam Deck isn't for me. That's for tinkerers like the man in front of you, Asante, who knows how to tinker. Me, I just want to play a game. So that's why I jumped on this. It's $299. I'm very excited. But before we get into the 2 pieces of hardware and talk about that, because again, folks, that's breaking news. I do want to catch up with some of the super chats. Been quite a few of them. The first one of the evening comes the way of our very good friend and generous member of the community, Shooter 2853. He's been a member for the channel for 1 month and drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, good morning, Boom, Mrs. Boom, Crispy Mag, and Asante. Here's to another great show. And he's saying good morning because guess what, folks? He's in Australia. We have a couple of people here from Australia. Welcome to our brothers and sisters down under. Brett Bingham drops a $5 super chat, and that's where he says, Doctor Strange by Arcane Studios. Coincidental pun included. I do like that. I like what you did there, Brett.
Well done, good sir.
Well done indeed. Alex is a Valve drops a $14 super chat. Well, thank you, Alex, for that. He says, hey, everyone, and to this amazing panel, let's go. Well, thank you for the generosity, but thank you for being here. Drawn TJ, generous friend of the program, drops a $5 super chat and says, hey guys, have you seen the Forge leak of the working drop pod? And the answer is, holy shit, yes. Forge is going to literally save Halo, because some of the things that they're doing, folks, look, all I can hope for is that when Forge officially launches and we get a chance to play some of these maps that people are making in places like The Last of Us and Star Wars and so many others that I've seen, I hope that 343 hires these people, because my God, some of the things that are being done are amazing. Like, I mean, it's just, I'll put it to this way. As 343 goes through a massive transition, obviously Bonnie Ross left, and she's that was for family, so you got to respect that she had to leave because someone is sick. They're also quote unquote cleaning house. There's going to be a lot of positions while that transition happens. Halo can't sit on its hands, and that's why Forge is going to be so important, because The community, as we know, is extremely talented, and I cannot wait to see what they do. But Sir X-Men drops a very generous $2 super chat, and this is actually a pretty cool idea, Sante, Crispy Bomb and the Mag. Do a co-op mode where with War Machine. That sounds dope. I do like what you
definitely.
You heard it here
like
first when it happens, because Mr. X-Man, I think that idea, you're onto something.
Yeah, 100% he's onto something. Absolutely. Everborn Saga in the chat. Make sure you get yourself on over here, because we're gonna be talking some slanderous theories from many. Man, sometimes I love the entire community as a whole, but man, the PlayStation gamers have been out in full force, and some of the things they're saying are just straight up wackadoo bananas when they're suggesting that the 8 studios that are in the salt mines of Call of Duty should only be making Call of Duty because they want Call of Duty to be great again, or remain great still. I find if you're one of those folks thinking that, you're bonkers. The talent that's coming to Microsoft after this deal, mind you, we're not talking about the monster studios that Blizzard has. We're just focusing on what Activision actually has, and they have so many talented studios. I actually cannot wait to see what they're going to do. We will get to that in a second. Let's go first to Asante. Now, look, obviously, depending on who you are, maybe you're excited for PlayStation VR 2.0. Maybe you're not. There's a lot of questions as to how expensive this thing is going to be. It's going to be no less than $500. That's a fact.
That's another thing myself and Everborn are debating on Twitter. I think a knees bet is imminent on that one, because he seems to suggest that since this in his eyes this subsidization of the PlayStation 5 has happened, that now the PlayStation PSVR 2 will come in at a cool $350, and I'm like, I don't think so, bro.
Dude, that thing is not going to be anything less than 500
there you go.
ducats.
Even in a world where your broken clock being right twice a day is right on this subsidization thing, there is no world where they're going to leave that money on the table when they could be taking that too. So we're going back and forth on it. But to give you my 2 cents on this whole thing, I do think the PSVR 2 is going to be pretty cool for hardware, as we're moving forward. Yeah. For those who are either poo-pooing VR, or you don't really connect with it, think of it as back when OLEDs were new and TVs were really thick, and you saw a TV that was so thin you couldn't imagine that was actually a TV. These things are just overblown television that you fit on your face.
Pretty much,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the difference is with this stuff is, since it's so close to your face and your eyes have to literally are so close to your retinas, it's very, very sensitive to how fast, how strong, how capable it's driving the image. If it drops the image even for a little bit, your eyes can see it, and there you go, you're barfing. And you have motion sickness. And it's seriously, and I say this to people all the time. Unlike in other environments, when it comes specifically to VR, you definitely get what you pay for. So anytime anybody goes, well, I want to try it first before I do it, I say, go find yourself the biggest rig, go to some amusement park somewhere and find the thing where they, the industrial grade, high class, big. Try that first, because that'll give you the best experience. Don't go try the PSVR 1 and go, yeah, VR sucks. Yeah, that thing sucks. And that thing paints a bad picture for VR. So needless to say, I say all that to say, based on the specs that we're seeing here, PSVR 2 looks like it's going to really bring it, right? We've seen some people already get their hands they go face on. That's the term there. You're going face on that. Right? Mm-hmm. So they've taken some of the games that we've already played on Quest 2 and they ported some over. Obviously, their big push with Call of the Wild is also there, and it looks like the game looks really great, right? So I am definitely excited for it. When it comes out, I will try and get one. I too think I don't foresee this thing being under $499. Even $399 I can see, but $399 I can see if they do that funny money they did last time, where they go, here's your PSVR with no controllers and no camera, which you need. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then after you buy them, it turns into that $500. But we'll see. I don't foresee it. I think Everborn, I apologize, good sir, but 350, you are absolutely wrong, sir. I don't
Some
foresee
would
this.
say he's smoking crack with
You
LT.
may be smoking something. Yes. Now, the only way though that I think that PlayStation might be able to thread the needle on the price, because it will be high, is if we don't know it yet, but they'll go, hey, guess what? It's USB-C. It is compatible with PC. That would change the narrative. If you tell me
it would, yeah.
If you tell me this thing with foveated rendering and inside out tracking and all this stuff can also be compatible with standard PC metrics, oh yeah, then you say $500. I'm like, where's my wallet, right? So we'll see how that goes. Now, real quick on the topic of the Logitech device, right? When I first saw the device, I was a little bit disappointed, because if you know what this thing has, it should be cheaper, in my humble opinion. If you know what's in it, it should be cheaper, right? Because at that exact same price range, like, and folks around here have been are super excited because Steam Deck has brought this mobile gaming thing to the forefront, and folks are actually taking it seriously now. But besides Nintendo, there have been other players in the space for quite some time now. The thing that Valve has done for this mobile space is they've turned those PC VR, those PC mobile games, they've made the pricing aggressive, because they came into the market with Steam Deck, and it wasn't $1,000, which that was the price point back in those days, right? It was $800, $1,000, but you could get yourself a Steam Deck like device, right? Now, because Steam Deck is around and it's $499 to $399 to get in or whatever, now you see these other players that were in the space starting to be more aggressive. So I say that to say, if you are in the market for this Logitech device, understand what you're getting yourself into. It's basically a mid-tier Android phone. It has an Android Snapdragon 720, which was a flagship processor maybe 4 years ago. So let's just say you're not playing Genshin Impact on this thing. You're not playing Fortnite on this thing, right? Which it should be capable of, because Genshin and Fortnite are two of the definitive mobile game capable out there, right? Based on what I can see from the Logitech device, it'll probably be a decent emulation device. If you want to carry your PS2 with you as you go along, everything up until then, you'll probably be able to use this thing for that, in addition to the awesome cloud streaming and all that it can do. I wish it was a little cheaper, but hey, it is what it is, because Logitech is making it, and most likely that adds cost to it as well. But yes, I hope you keep your pre-order, Boom. I would love to hear your thoughts
I'm
on
keeping
it.
Yep.
Yeah, when it comes out. I will say, for those who are looking at it and they go, hey, I wish it could do more local rendering, there are some out there that do local rendering. There are companies. There's a company called Neo. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, Digital Foundry did a review of their version of the Switch Lite a couple days ago, and theirs is like a Switch Lite, but it's a full-fledged PC in the size of a Switch Lite. These guys are out here. They're making really interesting things, and they too will be able to do everything the Logitech device can do, which is go install the app for Game Pass, connect to it via the cloud, play it with a really awesome keyboard mouse. I meant Microsoft configured offset key sticks and everything else. So it's by and large, this is all great news. It's bringing more competition in this space and driving the prices down. So more of us can jump in. So even if you're not a tinkerer, you can get a device like this that'll probably just be there, and you turn key and boom, you're streaming. I'm just waiting for the day that they go 150, right? With the specs they're talking about. 150, I'm there day one. A little bit more than that. I think they may be just testing the waters right now to see how many people really want a device that's only there for streaming. But 150 is the sweet spot for me. But no, I do think it's exciting. And those who got their pre-orders, I'm excited for you. If you want to learn how to crack that thing open a little bit, you know where to find me. The DMs are always open. Let's go.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Listen, let's bring in Crispy on this. But Crispy, I want to read the press release that comes the way of XboxNews.com from Xbox Wire. It was published by Catherine Gluckstein, who is the vice president of the Xbox Cloud Gaming Initiative at Microsoft. And this is what she had to say. At Xbox, we're always looking to make gaming available to more people in more ways. Since launching xCloud Gaming Beta 2 years ago, we've continued to expand device support, bringing Halo Infinite to entry-level PCs, Forza Horizon 5 to iOS phones and tablets, and Microsoft Flight Simulator to Xbox One, and hundreds of games to even more devices like the 2022 Samsung Smart TVs. So today, we're announcing that Xbox Cloud Gaming will be available in more places with the Logitech G Cloud gaming handheld when it launches in North America on October 17th. And good old Phil Spencer, he had something to say about this. And obviously, I like when Phil is out there talking with the gamers. Here's what he had to say about the Logitech device. I've been using the Logitech G Cloud for about a month. Incredible streaming device for playing while I'm away from my console. I love the feel, the battery life, and the screen size. Took it to Europe and to TGS with me and had a great time playing, even on hotel Wi-Fi with the winky face. Listen, again, Crispy, two hardware drops today. PlayStation VR had a really, really good showing. Again, it is going to be an expensive device. I'm thinking no less than $500. I would even dare say, some people in the chat are saying $550 and above. And I would say, well, yeah, it's Sony. So yeah, I can kind of see them doing it. This device is coming out for $300. It's, again, some people who have a Steam Decks are not going to need this. I don't have a Steam Deck. I always wanted an Xbox dedicated handheld, which this is going to be. And obviously, using the cloud technology, I'll be able to play games while I'm sitting on the couch and watching TV with the missus if I'm enthralled in a game like Deathloop, which I'm playing.
Real quick, Boom.
Yes, sir.
A quick aside, which I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. One thing I just thought of that we haven't added to this equation, which might change the whole idea of the pricing thing. By the time the pricing is known and this thing is out and being promoted, you'll most likely also see a new headset from Oculus, from Meta. Their Pro device is coming, and that thing ain't gonna be cheap. So in hindsight, maybe, but when you look at that thing in comparison to the PlayStation's $500 whatever dollars, it might not look so bad.
No, it certainly might not. Again, it depends on what they're offering. I've already given people my absolute distaste with what Sony did, not making it backwards compatible. I know that they use some sort of an excuse regarding, the motion sickness aspect of the games being moved from one device to the other. I think it's a load of BS. It's typical Sony at their finest. I purchased 2 PlayStation VRs, the first one originally, and then I upgraded to the one with the HDR pass-through, and I have 30 games. I have my headset, and all 30 games, which half are physical, half are digital. Well, I'm stuck. And that's Sony just being Sony again, which we obviously know PlayStation VR 2.0, not backwards compatible. And I'm sure there's not going to be any free upgrades to your games. I'm sure games like Batman and Tetris and things of that nature that I currently own, they're going to ask for me to buy and pay premium $70, which, if that in fact is the case, I will not be doing. Real quick, Roshan Impenger drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, call in friends via Jarvis on boss a la Elden Ring battles. Oh, that sounds good for the Ironman game. I do like that. But Crispy, are either of these hardware drops interesting to you, or are they both a pass?
Well, number one, I mean, and I just want to say, Sony, shame on you. I mean, seriously. And I'm going to tell you right now, the reason why I'm not interested in the VR2 is, number one, as of now, you are going to need the console. Okay. And it is probably still going to be the price of another console on top of it. This is going to be $1,100 affair, bro.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's bet. I bet it's the price of a Series S, at least.
A Series S, at least. Dude, they can't afford it though, Asante. We all know that inflation, Asante. Okay, so it's got to be at least $550 if they're charging. Boy. If they're charging for a 2-year console, $550. Okay, so
True.
I don't want to hear that. And then trust me, if it does come out at 400, you know they're getting the business because it's them just trying to compete with the Quest. That's the one I'll be looking at because it's not really for me. It's for Aiden, her son, and I'm not really a VR gamer. I have done VR in like the big rigs, like you talked about, stuff like that. Now, when we get to that point, when I true to that point, because I put the Quest on, it doesn't do it for me. I do start feeling a little motion sick. It's a little something with that. Now, the Logitech, the G Cloud? Okay, I see you. I am with you. I mean, when you got Snapdragon in there and the version it is, I've seen that on like 2-3-year-old phones. It doesn't seem worth it. Like it seems like my iPhone 11 can do just as good. You know what I'm saying? Now, if they go to 200,
for the record, though, what they're purporting that this will do, it'll do it perfectly. It's just y'all could have made it cheaper, you know?
Yeah. I mean, let's say they, maybe they start doing a bundle with that and the Series S at some point. That would be pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? Like something like that. But right now, it's like Series S or this because they're the same price. I'm going to get a Series S because right now I have some 1Xs still sitting around the house. So why not upgrade those to Series S?
Trade those suckers in, man.
And then hopefully by that time, Logitech, drops the price. Just like I'm still, uninstalling games and everything, waiting for the freaking the memory storage to get cheaper. You know what I mean? Because it's just like I know it will eventually, but now like Sony's just like, oh, everything's so expensive. And it's like, well, why isn't the Series X, who's whooping the heck out of the PlayStation, by the way? I won't go any farther than that. But yeah, I mean, why isn't that $550, bro? It's because they value, getting more customers. And PlayStation right now is like, hey, we're the king and we're going to do this. So, I mean, PSVR 2, I mean, it should be $550 the way it looks right now. And the Logitech, I'll wait till it's $200.
And I mean, again, like I said, for me, as someone that really, I don't play on the go as much as a lot of people would. I'm buying it because I've always, like when I'm waiting for Mrs. Boom to come out of work, it's always cool to sit there and play. Sitting on the couch watching TV when my nephew Tyler comes over, he wants to play on the console instead of playing on the big TV because we're doing something different. I think it's a super cool device. I'm very excited for it. $300 for me isn't going to put me in the poorhouse. Again, it's $300, and again, I don't like to waste money, but it's like it's like my birthday gift to myself, which I did. And I turned 52 this Sunday. And as we're talking about birthdays, folks, you got to tune in this Friday morning on Breakfast with Boom. 10 $50 gift cards Mrs. Boom and I are giving away. My birthday, but you guys get the gifts and the presents. That's right, folks. We're giving away $500 worth of digital gifts for being just in the chat. Now, obviously, if you drop a super chat, you get an additional entry. If you're a channel member, you get an additional entry. If you are a channel subscriber, you get an additional entry. So you'll have 4 chances, if you do all of those, to win one of the $50 gift cards. And we're going to be doing that out for the first 5 at the first half of the show, second half of the show, the next 5, and for our international viewers. If you are someone that is picked, and we don't handpick anybody, folks, we let the picker do its job and pick out the winners. If you win and you're outside of the United States, don't sweat it, because we will get you your prize money in the form of a transfer using PayPal. That's the only thing we're going to use because it's safe and secure for us. So if you don't have a PayPal account, very easy to make it up because we can't send codes internationally. They don't work. U.S. codes only work for the U.S. So if you do win, we will send you the money via PayPal. We will pay the transfer fee and any denominational changes in regards to currency. What yours is maybe a higher value than ours, we will pick up that. You are asked to pick up absolutely nothing. But Mag, I mean, I know you're a hardware guy. Do either of these? I mean, we know how you feel about the PlayStation. According to Asante, I didn't say it. You're Mr. Platinum, right? Always on platinums in people's faces. I don't know, but are you excited?
He's on my dashboard, just making me look bad. That's all it is. That's all.
I didn't even do anything. I'm just having fun.
Are you excited for PlayStation VR 2.0? Is it
Oh,
a day
yes.
one purchase? And more importantly, did you get a chance to check out the Xbox-centric Logitech device?
I did. I saw both. I mean, I've been closely watching the PSVR 2 because it is 100% a day one purchase for me. Now, the thing is, I might as well tackle this PSVR 2 situation first. Then I'll go to the Logitech thing. The PSVR 2 situation, I do not have a gaming rig, okay? Like, I don't have a high-powered PC for gaming. I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. PC is for spreadsheets and taxes, all right? It's not for gaming. Anyways, I'm just kidding. I love upsetting people about that. Anyways, the thing is, at the end of the day, I don't have a gaming PC, so therefore I don't have a high-powered a VR headset. I have a Meta Quest 2, which, by the way, is the dumbest name in the history of the world. Just leave it as the Oculus Quest, please, for the love of God.
Mama called him Oculus. I'm gonna call him Oculus. It's fine. Let's keep it moving.
Oh, it's just Oculus to me. Like, shut up with this Meta Quest nonsense. Anyways, the point is, I have a Meta Quest 2. The Meta Quest 2 is serviceable. It's excellent. I like its free range motion. I remember actually before I even bought the first one, I actually messaged Boom. This was years ago before I even was on the show. I'm like, hey man, I heard you got an Oculus Quest. This is the first one. I'm like, is it worth it? And the one thing that Boom said to me, he said, it's honestly worth it just for the freedom of not being tethered, right? So that was an interesting thing. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm in. So I got the Meta Quest 1. I enjoyed it. I got the Oculus 2, and I really, really enjoy it. However, I am thirsting for that high-end experience, and it seems that PlayStation is going to be bringing us that high.
Yeah, it does look good. And
now,
one of the games
imagine 4K
launching,
each eye.
Check this out. One of the games launching, Half-Life Alyx.
Yes, that's right. And I never got to play it.
Me either.
I never got to play it, and that really broke my heart because I hear it is the definitive VR experience from what I understand. Now, you know, not to be outdone, though, it looks like Sony's bringing the heat, too, with that new Horizon game, which I think looks magnificent because I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a fan of the series. Like I said, I got to get back to 2, but yeah, it does look good. It looks really good.
It looks really good. And basically, it's going to scratch that Tomb Raider Uncharted itch of, you know, yes.
I hate to throw some cold water on the Call of the Mountain thing. I did hear one thing about it that I thought was a little bit.
What did you hear?
So
it's on rails.
When you get into combat, like you're all by yourself, motion, you're good. But when you get into combat, it's on rails and you're just shooting while you're moving by yourself, which is just completely like, no, we're not going backwards. Go forward in time.
Yeah, that is a fair point. Now, the only thing is, though, I'll give it a consolation prize of it's going to, is it still going to have like the traversal? Because it did show you looking up at the tall necks and stuff. You'd be able to climb up. Okay, so I'm sold on that alone. Like, I want to be able to.
So for those who want it, there's a game called The Climb in VR. It's literally The Climb, like the Climb, you know, arms inside the Forbidden West world. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm in for that. And I mean, it scares the living crap out of me because I played Population 1 on the Oculus, right? And it's basically like Fortnite, VR Fortnite, right? But the thing is, you can climb on anything. So like you can climb up skyscrapers and go find like a sniper position, do anything like that. So I'm climbing up these buildings, and then all I do is turn and look down, and I just start the waterworks started, the sweating, the wet, my like sweaty palms. I start shaking. It's really scary, but you know what? It's still exhilarating enough that I enjoy it. So I'm
now this is because the Population 1 that you're playing it natively off of the Quest, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It works there, but if you played it off of a PC and then piped it into the thing, it would not get the sweats. That small little difference, the quality of the energy of the resources coming from that cable. You know, people complain about the cable PSVR 2. Right. That's what'll keep you from barfing. So it's a good thing that cable's coming. It'll stop you from barfing.
I turn all the motion things onto full tilt. I want the barfing experience. I don't care. Like, yeah.
You want your VR legs on you. Is what
exactly. Like even when I played Vader Immortal, I put full motion on so that I'm running around, and even Resident Evil 4 in VR, I put full motion on just like Call of Duty style. Because I wanted that. I want that full motion experience because I don't get motion sickness for that stuff, which is ironic because I have like bouts of dizziness and vertigo, but but for VR it doesn't affect me. But anyways, back to the PSVR 2. Here's the thing: There's a problem that they're going to face, and the problem they're going to face is this. It may be too expensive. Now, Colt Eastwood actually said something. He's standing firm that it's going to be $299. Okay, I saw him about it today. We also had our show on Monday.
Wow.
$299?
Okay, that's what he's saying. I don't know if he was joking, because it's hard to tell with him sometimes because he's a real straight man when it comes to comedy, right? So I wasn't sure if he's joking or being serious, but I mean, that's what he said. It's on Twitter right now. He goes, I'm standing by
Man,
$299.
I want him to be right. I want him to be right so bad. That would be amazing.
I would love for him to be right. Now, here's the thing.
Wow.
I don't expect that. Although I don't doubt Colt either. Colt's got a lot of people in this industry. He knows a lot of people in this industry. Who the hell knows? But anyway, the point is, let's face it, with the kind of tech that Sony's putting in there, I don't see that happening. Now, the thing is, it's going to be too expensive for a lot of people to adopt this technology. The problem with that is that they're not going to support it as much because it's too expensive of a piece of technology. The other thing is, let's not forget what Sony just did. Outside of the United States, the games are $104, and in some places even more expensive. Outside of the United States, which is not the center of the world for everybody, guys, okay, they raised the prices of the console.
They're raising here too. Calm down there, sir.
90% of the world, 90% of the world, all the consoles and games have raised in price on the Sony side, right? Outside of the United States. This is what's happening. And of course, they're forcing
as well, sir. Try to
yes, they did. See, there you
I
go.
know, but you know what?
Horizon.
Hold on a second. But here's the other thing. Yes, I see what you're saying. But here's the other thing. The other thing is that they're forcing bundles in the, like, for example, in Canada, you cannot buy just a PS5. You cannot do it. It is bundled with either an extra controller or with two controllers or a game or whatever, and they're sitting at $900 to $1,100 to buy a PS5 in Canada now. Okay, so they can so there's that. So now you want to couple that, all right? So count, like I said, everybody in the United States, count yourself very lucky that you're not getting the shaft that the rest of the world is getting from Sony. Now there's that. How can you offer a premium premium VR experience and undercut the fact that you've raised the prices on everything else? I don't see it happening. Now imagine trying to buy both. So let's say you do not have a PS5, but you want a PSVR 2. You're going to spend upwards of, like, in Canada, you're going to spend, or in anywhere, Canada, Australia, Europe, you're going to spend $1,500 to play that Horizon game? I don't think so. So this is a problem. Yeah. And because of that, that is going to cause a problem in terms of support. And then they're not going to support something that people aren't purchasing. They will cut it off at some point, and then we're going to be left high and dry with this very beautiful, expensive hardware that's not going to be getting the support. But my ideal situation is I'd like to see the support from first party. If they're going to go do this, go hard. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It is Sony, and they'll put something out and they don't support it after a year, and it dies off on the vine, bro. They've done
Can you imagine?
So many times.
I don't want them to do that. I don't want to spend $500 or $600 on a VR headset, and then all of a sudden it's just like it just became a paperweight, right? Start bringing your first parties.
That's why I'm saying that we don't know it yet. They haven't announced it yet, but it would be very smart of them, and I'm not the only one that has said so. Others online have said so as well. It's a USB-C plug. Make it compatible with a PC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there you go. But I could see them using this as a way of driving the driving sales of the PS5 before they start getting into being able to utilize it through a PC. They'll do that, but very much like their first party games, right? They're going to release their first party games only on the PS5 in order to bolster the sales of the console, and then later down the road, once they've sort of exhausted the sales, then they're going to move on to the PC. I can see that happening now.
Yep.
The other thing is, the last thing I was going to say about the PSVR 2 is that, like I was saying, like that supplement, first party games. Give us the supplemental experiences next to those AAA experiences that you're getting on the console. Give us, even if it's a 2 or 3 hour experience of God of War on VR. Imagine playing Last of Us in VR. Now, what the hell is that game? The Walking Dead. Anybody play The Walking Dead in VR?
It was awful. Awful. I played it. I played it on the Oculus Quest 2, and I thought it was just awful.
Why did you think it was awful, by the way, real quick, Boom? What did you not like about it?
I just thought that the hands looked dumb. I just think that the walking was
So-
fine, but
They supposedly they stripped it down. They ported it to basically make it work on a phone, right?
yeah,
If you
Basically,
play that
yeah.
thing on a PC, wow, what an experience!
yeah.
So now imagine The Last of Us in the vein of that.
Hey, Mag, you can play Last of Us in VR. You just have to play VR golf.
Wow.
That's great.
Hmm.
Here's the thing.
Fantastic.
He's got to come in and throw pot shots, eh? Like that's
You know?
just right through the back door, and he's lobbing little grenades into the room. Anyways, in all seriousness, here's the thing. Like, imagine those experiences and translate it to something like I would
If
be
you
down
want to
for all
play
those
through
things.
the back door, you should get Manscaped.
Yeah, thank you very
Oh,
much. At least,
right.
at least this man
I like what
is
you
paying
did there.
attention.
I
This
like what
man
you
is
did
paying
there.
attention. Imagine
This-
Spider-Man in VR.
That would
All
be
right.
bonkers.
When Spider-Man comes out, Spider-Man 2 comes out, and you in late 2023, let's say early 2024, you release a 5 to 6 hour campaign on the PSVR 2 of Spider-Man. How amazing would that be? Free falling off those buildings
Unintended.
and then fire those webs last second, woof, right through the, you know what I'm saying? Right off the ground, like right past trucks and stuff. I would do that all day and all night. There would be no sleep for the mag. People be like, you got to go to work. I'll be like, the hell with it. I'm swinging through New York. This is too good. So anyways, I'm in 100% for me. I'm just saying from anybody else, it might be a lot harder to sell. The big thing is, and you guys have noticed, they release trailer after trailer after trailer and no goddamn price.
Yeah, no,
They're scared.
Listen, no, I'm telling you, the reason why there hasn't been a price is because it's going to be, you're going to see the price, you're going to be like this.
Right.
You're
And it's
gonna
going to
pass
turn
out
a
'cause
lot
you're
of
gonna-
people off, Boom.
It's definitely high price for sure. Listen, everyone, we're going to bring you right in immediately when we move to the next topic, because we're talking the Powerhouse Studios coming to XGS once this deal is done. And
Okay,
it's funny,
But I do want to say one. I want to say one thing before you move to that topic, and it's only
Sure.
going to take 5 seconds. I think people are missing the forest for the trees with this streaming device because we all forget about the all access program. Now,
Mhm.
you paid. People think it is too expensive, but what if they told you for $20 a month you get a free streaming device that they subsidize through the Game Pass subscription using all
Yeah.
access?
Mhm.
That's
good
how you
stuff.
make that thing work. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I just didn't want
No.
to leave that.
I mean that's a perfect. Well, I mean it's well thought out for
They
sure.
should have announced that. Had they announced that was going to be part of the all access program, that would have made a different narrative pop.
There is
But
a
continue.
Surface event coming up next month.
That's true. That
Absolutely.
is very true. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about it for months, right? And in the last couple of weeks, it has gotten really nasty between Phil Spencer and good old Jimmy Boy. Now, Jimmy has come across a lot of names: Dance Moves, Ryan, Crying Lion, Lion Ryan, We Believe in Generations. There's a whole mess of names that he's got going on. But listen, folks, the only thing that we've been talking about is PlayStation feels that if Call of Duty goes to Xbox somehow, them not having access to that it's gonna kill their brand. They want, they're worried about gamers. Remember that from the last week. They're so concerned about Call of Duty, they're worrying about gamers, which we know is only PlayStation gamers. And I think there's a lot about this deal, folks, that people aren't talking about. And that's what we're going to talk about here tonight for the remainder of the show. And I mean, we're going to let the panel members go crazy and go any way they want to go with this, because all we've talked about, or at least all Sony's been talking about, is how Call of Duty is going to be devastating if it's not on the PlayStation, which they already said it was going to be. I think what wound up happening with this 3-year extension is that they only want to offer 3 years extensions, so they have room to work out a deal if, let's say, things aren't going as well for Call of Duty, or Call of Duty explodes on the scene even more. Well, Sony shouldn't pay what they've always paid. They're gonna have to pay the premium price. So I think that's what Jim Ryan's really worried about. But there are two aspects to this deal that a lot of us have forgotten about. I certainly haven't, because I've talked about it on my show. First and foremost, it's the human element. And what do I mean by that? Well, all of the workers that are currently stuck or at Activision Blizzard King, or specifically Activision, have been working in really terrible positions for years. And Microsoft is going to come in. They're going to change a bunch of ideologies there, right? They're going to make it the Microsoft way. They're allowing unions to come in. This deal doesn't go through. What happens to all these workers, these developers? Does anyone care? I know I care, because they're the ones that make the games. No one ever really thinks about that. But even if you want to just kind of be like, okay, well, boom, talking about unions, really not a video game thing. I'm not going to argue with you. I thought it was worthy of a conversation because, like I said, the human element is important to me. But right now, as we speak, putting the finishing touches on what's expected to be the biggest biggest Call of Duty ever. It is the remake of Modern Warfare 2. There are 8 studios attached to this behemoth, right? Now, over the weekend, I'm going to go first to Everborn, because he actually is the one that brought it up earlier when we were talking about it. There are a subset of people that think that these studios should strictly be stuck working on Call of Duty and not any other game. So let me break down who's joining Xbox Game Studios, and each one of these are dynamite talent. High Moon Studios, Beanox, Raven, Toys for Bob, Demonware, Treyarch, Sledgehammer Games, and Infinity Ward. I mean, think about that for a second. See, this is everyone talks about Call of Duty, but when you think about these individual studios and what they've done in the past and what they could potentially do in the future is bonkers. And a lot of these studios know how to be support studios as well as make their own games. So, we could see maybe some of these studios helping out the Coalition, helping out Ninja Theory, helping out Obsidian Games, or, pick whoever you want to pick. We know that State of Decay 3 is getting help from the Coalition with Unreal Engine 5. I mean, I think that's going to be a banger, but everyone, let's get your opinion on this. But before we do, let me catch up on 2 super chats, one of which is from a very good friend who's already dropped a few super chats in here. That comes the way of Sir X-Man, drops an additional $2 super chat and says he just got himself a CRT TV for your old consoles. That's dope, and that is
you gotta
very
tell me
hard
where
to
you
do.
got that, because I'm trying to find one.
There
one
are
of
a
those.
lot of that's a lot of people want CRTs.
Yes.
I had an amazing. Does anyone remember? Oh my God, what was it? The GX TV. Does anyone remember that? It was a TV, a 13-inch color TV that had speakers that would fold in on the cover of it. And when you weren't using it, when you wanted to use it, you folded it out and had these big bass
80s
speakers.
technology. Fantastic.
Dude, it was so dope. Oh my God, I wish I still had it. But we also have JD Gamer, good friend of the program, drops a very generous, $20 super chat, and has been a channel member for over 2 years. JD, thank you so much for that. He says, what if Microsoft announces HoloLens 3, the Xbox version, 1 month before PlayStation VR 2.0 launches, with superior specs at $100 more? Basically, what if Xbox pulls that move that Sony did with on the Dreamcast? What are you buying? Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm getting the Xbox HoloLens 3 for sure. There's no doubt about that. We also have JD Gamer drops an additional $5 super chat and says, Mag brought up Spider-Man, but what if? What do you all think of PlayStation 5's 2023 lineup as it compared to Xbox Series X and X? They talked about this on Colt's show the other day, which I listened to, which, Mag, you were a guest. And what we don't know about Sony in 2023 is they only have, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not being facetious here, folks. When I say only, I'm not dissing them. we only know Spider-Man 2. Now, could they have others? I know I know the Factions 2 is supposed to release next year. A lot of people don't think that's going to come out. Final Fantasy 16, highly unlikely, even though they said it was coming out. It's probably going to be delayed. Forspoken is definitely coming out. So they have a couple of console exclusives through marketing deals and PlayStation 5 deals, but we don't know what they're doing. Microsoft's lineup, according to what Jeff Grubb had to say the other day on Luke Law's. If you don't know who Luke Law is, he's Insipid Ghost. He has the Xbox Expansion Pass podcast. He interviewed Jeff Grubb, and Jeff dropped some major nuggets regarding what 2023 originally was going to look like and what it could still look like. It's bonkers. But Everborn Saga, what are your thoughts on these 8 studios finally being removed from the salt mines of Call of Duty? Are they gonna fall victim to being stuck on Call of Duty, or is Phil Spencer going to come in and say, "Hey guys, listen, welcome to the team. Work on whatever you want"?
Well, here's the thing. I think there are certain obligations you're going to have for COD, and the question is going to be, because remember, so COD is going to skip a year, but I don't know that we have gotten any official confirmation that COD is going to forever go to, biannually, right? But there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? And I think we see this, and people that don't understand, but Phil Spencer was pointing this out in terms of investment into studios. Look at the expansion that Ninja Theory has done, right? In building out new motion capture studios and creating new teams so that they can work on multiple games at once, right? So instead of only being support studios, I think that they are going to increase the sizes of those teams so that they can also work on other things. In the same way that you've seen, you have Arcane Lyon and Arcane Austin working on 2 separate games that come out very close to each other. So, but I would like to see COD go biannually, and then you can fill the gap with Warzone in terms of you can just have events for Warzone versus a whole new COD campaign. So if you just the simple act of letting that breathe, since there are 3 teams on COD, if you say COD today has a 3-year development cycle, by going every other year, now COD will have a 6-year development cycle, which will allow them to work on other projects while they do that. So I think there are ways they can do it, but absolutely, for sure, I'd love to see these studios working on other things. And the other thing to think about, these studios already are working on other things, because remember,
it's confirmed that Infinity
right?
Ward is also working on a first person
or third person.
Is it? You know what? Because I know that Treyarch is working on something that's non-Call of Duty. And I know Infinity Ward is also rumored to be working on something. It's like a space RPG in the veins of like Mass Effect.
Right, and that's what I mean. I don't even know if that's going to be first person. So, I say that to say, I think that they're already on the road of doing that, and that's why the biannual thing was sort of announced. And Phil said one of the thing that interested him most about this acquisition was that he's seen their future roadmap, and it is more than just COD, right? And they're seeing ways where they can grow. So to me, having that talent producing games that are not COD, it is amazing. But I don't think COD suffers, and I do think COD could stand to take a slowdown for a bit. But we'll see, because it's like crack to some of these people. COD, they need that in their veins every year. It is event. It's a yearly event when COD comes out. So do they really want to mess with that? And I think the year that it takes a pause, it is going to be sorely missed. But then I think it comes back like bigger than ever, just because, you know, people can't miss you unless you leave. You know what I'm saying? So, no. And then, you know, Blizzard is also working on other things, because there's that survival game that they put out the thing for. So I do think we're going to get a lot of games that are not the mainstay, you know, Overwatch, Diablo, Warcraft, and COD. I just want them to bring back Crash, and any of these other games. I don't even think we're having this whether it's going to be exclusive talk or not. So when you have the talent at Activision Blizzard making games for making exclusive games for Xbox, I think everybody wins. So
yeah, no, I mean, that's good stuff. JD Gamer drops an additional very generous $10 super chat and says, so Call of Duty skips next year and Halo Infinite gets on absolutely huge. Its biggest yet content drop next November, delivering on its promise and blowing up its player count to new heights. Forge is life. Yeah, Forge is going to be a huge part of it. I really want to see. I mean, look, like I said, folks, what can I say? I have both battle passes finished. I absolutely adore everything about Halo Infinite. It's one of my favorite Halos of all time. I just wish there was the more content. That's my only complaint. Otherwise, it plays great, and it's going to be great again. It really is. Once they get all their ducks in an order. Certain Affinity is working on Tatanka, as we know, which is, I mean, it's not for me. Battle Royals is just not my bag, but it's going to be for somebody, and it's probably going to explode in the scene because, quite frankly, Certain Affinity is, well, they are Halo. They're even more Halo than 343 is, if you can believe it. Depending on, you know, who you ask. I think they're going to make an incredible game, and they said it's going to be a much different battle royale type of game. I can't wait to see what they do. Mag, I want to go to you first, just in case you got to bounce out at the back end.
Yes, sir.
We are talking about major talent joining Xbox Game Studios once this deal is done. And it's expected to close. And again, I was all like, oh, it's going to close by the end of the year. Probably by March, I would imagine, or everyone is going to be giving their blessing and they're going to buy it. But you talk about High Moon Studios, Beanox, Toys for Bob, Raven, Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer Games, and Demonware, just to name a few, because we haven't even talked about all of the studios that Blizzard has. It is going to be, I mean, I would dare say that Xbox Game Studios becomes one of the biggest and most successful publishers in gaming. Like, I don't think anyone is going to be able to touch them. What are your thoughts on this? Is this talent going to be remiss to make what they want, or are they going to be in this, again, stuck making Call of Duty forever?
No, they're not going to be stuck making Call of Duty forever. I think that they're going to move around. I could see them moving around Call of Duty to different we all know that when a AAA game is made, okay, it is not just, let's say, I'm going to pull up a name, Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog did not make Last of Us 1 and 2 by themselves. They made it with like 14 other studios, support studios, and things like that, right? So what they're doing here is by bolstering their Xbox Game Studios stable, so to speak, with talent. What you're doing is that you're making everything more self-sufficient, and that is the key to all of this. And that's something that I think that they've been always wanting to do. Something that Phil's talked about before. He doesn't want to utilize or rent an IP or a license. He wants to own it so that they don't have to pay anybody else. It is all done internally. I could see the same thing with the studios. When they're making a big AAA game, they pull other studios in instead of having to contract out like they did with Halo, with several of these studios, and hence some of the problems and challenges they faced with this Halo Infinite is these people coming in and out. And of course, what got lost in translation? What got lost was... Yeah. What got lost is now I can't even think. What happens is there's a lack of communication, right? So that's what I was trying to get at. Sorry, there's a lack of communication, and then that's what was happening. There's a breakdown in communication, and therefore, we get these delays where we get 2 maps in a year. You know what I'm saying? This is something that will not be able to move forward with. What they're going to do is when they have a big AAA game coming up, let's say like a Fable or whatever the Coalition's working on next, or a Gear 6 or whatever, they could pull some of these studios in, their own studios, who are familiar with their workplace, familiar with the culture of that workplace. And of course, they don't have to pay them some kind of a contracting fee to get them in and out of there. And everybody's on the same page. This is what they're going to do. And what they could do is they could shuffle these studios into different areas to be able to put the final touches on whatever they're working on. Right? If it happens to be Call of Duty that one year, then you move those studios over there to work on Call of Duty. You got Coalition working on Call of Duty. Why the hell not? Right? And then whatever else. If they got nothing cooking, right? You can do all these heavy things. Now, the same thing what goes with any other game. Like I said, you get a Gear 6 coming up, you move Raven over there to work on an aspect of it or something like that. But what the key is
to help with some Halo campaigns, maybe.
And there you go.
I
would
like
take
that
all these
idea.
things. So what the key to all this, like I said, I liken this exactly to what I was saying before about how Phil does not like to rent IP or licensing and pay other people to do it when you can own it and it all stays internal. The money stays internal. They don't have to dish it out. And then you know what? You know what another thing that sort of backs up my thought on this is the fact that they don't pay. I know that it's part of his philosophy, but they don't pay for that third-party exclusivity. Because I don't think they want to pay for the exclusivity. I think that maybe there's a mask of it saying, "Oh, we don't like to lock gamers out." I think it actually has more to do with the finances than it is that locking other players out of an experience. I think that they would have no problem with that. I just don't think that that's his philosophy. But I still think a lot of it has to do with the fact that why pay someone else to do it when we could do it ourselves and maximize profit internally? That's what I can see happening. Now, that's pretty much all I was going to say about that. I am excited for all of it. I think it's going to happen this year. I know a lot of people say next year, including yourself, Boom, but I'm still thinking it's going to be before Christmas. Now, I just wanted to spit a few bars about the Logitech thing because I actually never got to say anything about it. I was just going to be very quick, like a minute. When Game Pass takes off, that Logitech thing is going to take off. The thing is,
I agree.
They got to lower the price. When they lower the price, then it's really going to come into his own. And then, of course, what Everborn said there. You know, with the what the hell is it called? Damn it, the subsidizing thing that program that they have. I can't remember the name of it.
All Access.
All Access. Thank you very much. Yes. Why not do something with the All Access, or maybe even bundle in or subsidize 6 months of Game Pass when you purchase it at full price, or something like that you can get people interested in. But when that Game Pass takes off, when Call of Duty's in Game Pass, you watch that thing fly in the Asian markets and within the children, because let's face it, the other thing is too, Nintendo shows absolutely no sign of releasing new hardware because let's face it, it's the Japanese model. Keep feeding them the same outdated crap. Like I said, if they could get away with it, if it wasn't for Microsoft, okay, they would, or even Sony at this point, but they would have still been serving us cartridges for $120 if they can get away with it, right? They would do that. Because they're not interested in pushing the tech forward. They're interested in making the money, and that's what I see with that. But anyways, and the thing is, people are getting tired of the Switch. The Switch is outdated tech, no matter which way you look at it. And you know what? They're gonna get tired of playing that ridiculous game. What the hell's that one? The one you like, Boom? I can't stand it.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, there you go. The one with the voice and the beep, 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 beep. And I'm like, can't you guys afford?
I heard you guguys say that on Culture. I was dying.
Dude, I can't stand that. You know what? Can't you afford voice actors for Christ's sake, you Nintendo? Anyways, and then, of course, there's that racist portrayal of my people. What's his name there? Mario. Okay, I'm tired of it. Tired of it. We're not all plumbers, by the way.
Oh, no.
Italians aren't plumbers. Well, at least not all of us. Anyway, but except for my cousin. But anyways, besides that, the point is, you know, this thing could really take off, right? And I can see that. But anyways, I just wanted to get that out there, but quick. But back to the Xbox Game Studios thing. This is going to be huge in order to, like I said, they're all going to be helping each other. It's going to be one big happy family. The biggest concern and the biggest problem that I'm going to have is how are you going to control the situation or keep it under control? How are you're going to have to divide it up into different divisions with different leaders in different divisions. Matt Booty cannot be the emperor from Star Wars and watch every single studio by himself. He is a human being.
Yeah.
Okay?
Booty can't handle it.
Yeah, the booty can't handle it.
Nope.
Never mind, you can't handle the booty. The booty can't handle that. The problem is he is not omnipotent. Okay, he's going to they're going to have to break it up into subdivisions. Okay, so that they have a different head in each department that takes care of, X, Y, and Z. You take 4 studios, you take 6 studios, you take 8 studios, whatever. And then, of course, once a week you have your weekly meeting with all the heads come and sit down, and they all talk about what's going on, right? And they figure it all out.
Mag, isn't that kind of happening like with ZeniMax and now ABK? Because
they're still self-governed at this point.
Right, but to that end, I think you don't. If you buy another individual studio now, like IO Interactive or somebody like that, you don't put them under XGS. You put them under ZeniMax, or if you have Activision, then maybe not Activision, but you know what I'm saying. Put them under one of those, so it's not under Matt Booty, and now you have it sort of separated out, and everybody can kind of
fair. But what I'm trying to tie. Yes, I get what you're saying. That makes absolute sense. But the only reason why I'm going to say maybe not, or maybe just like slightly disagree on it, is that if they're going to do collaborations together with between ABK, ZeniMax, and of course Xbox Game Studios, okay, if they're going to be collaborating on different things, then they're going to have to intertwine with each other, right? As opposed to being completely self-governed. And that's where you're going to need to divide them up slightly into different departments. Like I said, maybe one team from ZeniMax can go over to Xbox Game Studio. Whatever. I don't know. I don't know the details. I'm just saying, in order for them to work on different projects together, they have to be able to seamlessly move from one project to the other without interrupting. I think that in order to do that, they're going to have to break them up eventually into smaller categories. And I think they would break up ZeniMax and break up ABK. You know what I mean? Put King. I mean, King doesn't really count. Let's face it. They're not going to be part of.
They're their own thing. Yeah,
they're their own thing. That's mobile.
I think mobile is going to play a lot bigger part than people realize.
Of course, it will.
They're going to build out King to turn a lot of these IPs into mobile billion-dollar powerhouse.
Warzone's going mobile. I mean, that's a billion-dollar idea right there. I mean,
you remember everybody laughed when Phil Spencer said, I mean, I know we've talked about it a million times, but when he said 2 billion gamers, and everybody laughed their balls off, and they all scoffed. They're not scoffing now because how many hundreds of millions of people are playing Candy Crush? That's what he was talking about. People think gamers is console gamers.
Well, no. I mean, you bring up a good point, because during the last quarter financials for Activision Blizzard, if you didn't know this, maybe now you know this. Candy Crush made more money than mainstream Call of Duty combined with all consoles and PC.
Correct. Now,
but it does that every time. Like it's been doing that for years.
Clockwork.
That's where all the growth in gaming is. It's in mobile, and this is why Sony bought that studio. I mean, it's laughable when you compare the studio they bought to King, but that's neither here nor there. They're just competing at different levels. But I do think you're going to see a bigger, because we're old farts, right? Forget about us. You have to look at where our kids are playing games, and they don't have any qualms with playing on a tablet or whatever. And this is why. They're sort of trying to bridge that gap with the cloud to say you can still have these AAA experiences on mobile devices. You're just doing it via the cloud. And I think that's the way you get everybody together in gaming. I do want to add one thing to your point, Mag. I don't think it is a coincidence that they said, there are 1 point at the Tokyo Game Show, they highlighted that there are 1.7 billion gamers in the Asia Pacific region.
Yep.
What does that tell you about where their focuses are next? And
that's going to be the next big acquisition, i.e. Sega.
Or a conspiracy theory that we talked about over the weekend, but I guess we'll save that one for another day.
We absolutely will. But listen, let's bring you into the conversation. Look, you've talked about this before, and again, this is a known commodity. These studios, even though they're only making Call of Duty, by the time they're done, will have made one of the best Call of Duties. It appears that Modern Warfare 2 is going to be the shining gem in the crown, if you will. That says a lot about these teams having incredible studio leadership as well as talent. And all of that talent is coming over to Xbox Game Studios. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think specifically Phil and his team are in a very unique position right now because they have two masters. If you think about it, they have two masters that they have to adhere to, and each master wants to know that basically what we want is exactly what you're doing, right? Phil and he's uniquely positioned to be able to hear them both, right? He is uniquely positioned to hear the gamers because he's gaming with them. I mean, right now he's probably playing Destiny 2 or something else. He's gaming right now. Like he's always at night. Like I see him pretty frequently. He's gaming, right?
Yep.
And he knows what gamers want. He knows, hey, we want that AAA this, we want that. He name dropped a bunch of very interesting IP that people had forgotten that Activision Blizzard was about, right? When this whole purchase situation came about. So he's trying very hard to thread that needle specifically, while at the same time keeping the good times that is the salt mines of Call of Duty still going, right? Because the money men, right, okayed you to buy this thing because the money keeps flying, right? You don't buy them and then tomorrow close up shop and go, oh well, it's all done now, right? People would get very upset because even though there are interests about the games, there are people who are very much interested in what Call of Duty will do, and they've never touched a controller before. They just want the money, right? So he's speaking to both houses, and he's trying to thread that needle very well. And what the mag was saying was exactly true, and I agree with the panel members. By and large, I think a bit of both is about to happen here, right? So, and let's be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of the style, the management style of the booty.
We've talked about that. Yeah, do
you have something to show me? No, you don't. Well, then I'll turn tail and go home. No, that's not your job. It's I have a show in 6 weeks. Give me something.
Thank you.
May I have some, please? No. Okay, well then I'll go back and ask again next time. No,
Thank you, Asante.
What's wrong with you? I'm sorry. Mr. Nice Guy doesn't get the job done, because still at the end of the day, your job is to produce. And so far, how long have you been in that job? So I get all of that.
Published of the year 2021.
Oh, here we go.
Pandemic 2023 is about to shut the world down.
How about you turn your camera on so we can see you capping?
Wow.
What I'm talking about?
How about we see the cap?
I just want my knees in 2023. That's all I want.
See, there you go. And when that doesn't happen, he wants his knees in 2024. At some point, he'll get them knees, baby.
Well, I got news for you. Speaking of knees, I'm looking up over there, and right above my Microsoft stock portrait up there is going to be Kay Asante's knees.
Now he's smoking something.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen,
when Sonic Frontiers sells more copies than God of War Ragnarok.
And you know why? Mr. BoomStick XL says the Sonic Frontiers will sell more copies because it's going to be playable also only on the Switch. Yeah, only on the Switch. Mm-hmm.
Sure. That's actually, believe it or not, I'm saying it because did anyone see the new Sonic anime that's releasing on Netflix?
It looks pretty darn great. Yes, it does.
So it comes in a time where we're coming off.
So
Sonic
let's not make
you
this
think that was by accident, so you can nest in my kids' ears and eyes before Sonic Frontiers comes?
A Sonic conversation.
After they saw
but
the
every
Sonic
every time this comes up, I say one thing and one thing only.
That
I
stand.
No, please.
Everything they make has to sell outside.
I stand to lose the knees because they have everything to gain. But there's one big if. If the game is good,
is it good? Which the latest trailer does suggest that it looks pretty damn good. But listen,
we shall see.
We indeed shall see.
Long story short, this whole Activision Blizzard thing, I honestly think that at the end of the day, when this is all said and done, it's going to be awesome. People are going to love it. But in the short term, it's going to be a lot of, I honestly think that Microsoft is trying to thread both needles. They know that the creatives are there and want to be creative, and they know that you don't need to get the creatives out of the room to make money. So they're trying to keep the status quo for in the short term, right? Hey, they make money. Let's keep them making money to keep the money makers happy, right? Or the money men, if you will, the investors happy. But in the long term, I honestly think that Phil thinks that creativity still pays. and he'll let them go out and do, right? Activision Blizzard said, oh, Plastic Instruments, what? It wasn't selling. He name dropped that at the purchase, right?
Yeah.
So he knows that creativity will outlast all this, rinse repeat because it's making money thing, right? It's just, he also knows that he's not speaking to gamers when he's making these big purchasing decisions. He's speaking to those money men who's never grabbed a controller, and they may not understand what what he's talking about when they say, hey, these Plastic Instruments will actually bring people back. They won't get that, right? Yeah. They'll go, look, they buy Call of Duty every year. Why are you stopping the train, right? Whereas Phil Spencer knows gamers like us, we want the diversity. We want to bring the old school back. We want to add new while retaining the old. You know what I'm saying? So, it'll be interesting to see. But I honestly think that's what they're trying to do, and I'm looking forward to 2023 to see how well this works.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Crispy, let's get your opinion on this, brother. But before I do, I got to catch up with some of the super chats. Highlander 001 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, the content that will be added to Game Pass after the Activision acquisition is finalized will be killer. Will Sony Pony start saying Xbox has games? I don't think they ever will. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of the stout, fans of Sony who just cannot stomach to see Microsoft win will never bow down to Microsoft being the best publisher in gaming, regardless of how many 90 Metacritic scores that they get. I just think that's the nature of the beast. JD Gamer drops not one but two additional super chats, and one of which is $10. Bit of generosity, JD. He says you could set up XGS the same way Embracer Group does. That's a great idea. Every time they buy a new set of studios, they create a new subdivision. So buy a set of studios a la IO, Certain Affinity, Asobo, Crytek. Yeah, I think that's a freaking fantastic idea. And another $5 super chat. Thank you again. He says after you buy the set of studios, then you recognize them all into a group overseen by a studio head that now acts as a liaison to MS proper. I mean, that's
that's basically the Embracer Group. That's the Embracer Group model right now.
That's what he said. He said it's the Embracer Group way, and I think he's onto something. But Crispy, listen. We know that how what your affinity is when it comes to multiplayer. That is where your home is. Seeing all of these studios joining Xbox Game Studios, two of which are working on new IP, Infinity Ward, and I believe it was Treyarch, both working on new games. What are your thoughts of all of this talent making Xbox Game Studios literally one of the best publishing houses in gaming?
Yeah, what's wild is like so many. I mean, we didn't even include Blizzard Albany, formerly Vicarious Visions, was working on Call of Duty as well.
Yes.
So you had so many teams working on Call of Duty. I mean, when you see Treyarch, Sledgehammer, and Infinity Ward working on them, that's to be expected. But now it's like, let's just take everybody, and it seems like everything has stopped for everybody else. So they need to. I think they eventually will try to make one dedicated developer that takes anybody that wants to work from Call of Duty first, and then throw money at people to get them in there as well. I mean, you look at the Coalition 343. I mean, the model is kind of already there. And now you could say, the games haven't been as good as they used to be. Well, when you're constantly putting out 80 to 90 plus metas, I think they know what they're doing. I'm sorry. I mean, when's the last bad game you've seen from one of those studios? So you make a dedicated Call of Duty studio.
Call of Duty Ghost is probably the last bad one, long time ago.
That was pretty bad.
You know what I'm saying? But there's like even bad, they can still. So imagine if they make a great game, because you look at Vanguard and it was like meh. You know what I mean? And
still the number one seller of 2021.
And that's the
still
point.
the number, even a shitty game sold the most. Isn't that
the
crazy?
number one selling game of 2021?
So imagine you get into the plethoras of the Forzas, the Gears, and everything. You get those type of quality out there now with Call of Duty, because you give it a little time to rest, for the love of God.
Yeah.
And then you maybe start thinking about creating, maybe take one of those studios and rebrand it in some way and make it one big Call of Duty studio. And then you bring those support teams, but it will be less likely because you'll have more people that really want to work on it rather than being felt that they're forced to do it. Because that's what I feel like we hear a lot coming from their studios, is that nobody ever says they're excited about being a support studio for Call of Duty at this point, because you're regurgitating content. So I think, down the road,
I mean, come on, Crispy. Would you be happy when we tell you you're going to go spend your day in the salt mines? I mean, come on.
Yeah, but to be fair, and that's where you be fair and you say there's going to be people that do want to work on that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
why not put those people?
Great for the resume.
Somebody
Yes.
might be working for Blizzard and really be like, oh, I really would love to work on a Call of Duty. And then they throw the call to arms out there and they bring people that really want to work in it first. And then you bring other talent, with money. I mean, that money talks, BS walks, as we like to say.
Absolutely.
So, but that's where you go and say, then you let Raven, you let some of these other studios really do what they're good at. I mean, the IPs that they've done over the years are incredible, from Spider-Mans to Jedis to just all different kinds of
Wolverine.
games.
They're just Wolverine was amazing.
Absolutely,
and then that's where you go and say, like, there's not everybody needs to work on a certain IP. Now you can go and work on these other games. Like, when Toys for Bob needs to come in and help Call of Duty, like, for the love of God.
Yeah,
I mean, like, they should be doing
Ridiculous.
something, so another Spyro or something like that. You know what I'm saying? They should be doing what they're really good at, and they're a talented dev, and of course they helped Call of Duty, but still, it's like, let them do what they want to do, because they really don't want to do that. They didn't join Toys for Bob to work on Call of Duty, and I hope that's what happens. When Microsoft gets this deal done. I mean, unless the floor falls through, but I think we're good on. We're good on that at this point, unless something crazy comes out. But, we just have to look at it, and they're going to have to restructure in some way, shape, or form, and, really get people that, want to be on Call of Duty. And if it takes 3 years, 6-year dev cycles, as you like to say, then let it take that. And, like, usually we'd have a Gears by now. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're letting Gears sit. And a lot of people sat on that cliffhanger like, oh, shoot, what's Gear 6 going to be like? A lot of people want it, but at the same time, we need to see something else from the coalition, and hopefully we do. So, you look at these developers like 343, like everybody hating on Infinite, but it's still, it's considered a great game. So
it is a great game.
Like, you can hate on it as much as you want, but, it's still successful. It's still a great game. It spawned so much from it, and so is Call of Duty. So I think it just needs a little love and a little patience, you know what I mean? And once we get that, these other great developers can do other stuff.
I absolutely agree. Real quick, got to shout out Ellis Murder Man Foster. Man, that is a great name. I missed the super chat of $2 earlier, and really the super chat is great, but it's what he says that really makes it all worth it. You guys are awesome. That is all. Thank you so much. And he dropped another one. And again, I mean, this is like a boxing name, like Ellis Murder Man Foster champion, right? It just rings a bell, dude. He drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "Boom, you missed my first super, but I want to say no matter what Xbox does, it'll never be enough for PlayStation people. He said, be enough. PlayStation people are delusional and just
No.
Hold on a minute.
Say that correctly. He said PlayStation people.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait,
PlayStation.
don't get it twisted.
Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. Fuck him.
Oh, wow. Okay, then.
Do what you got to do. Stop worrying about these people you can never make happy.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a big thank you we had almost 400 people here today. I want to thank everyone that tuned in for the new episode of Primetime Gaming. Let's get to the outro. Shout out to Gerald Mack in the chat. He says, "Can we agree the gaming industry has clearly outgrown this feeble plastic war 1,000%?" And
Absolutely.
Big Mad Mo, what's going on, my brother? Hopefully you're doing well. He says, "How many engines will they have after the deal?" Quite a lot, to be honest with you. I don't know what they do next, but let's get to the outros. We'll start first with Crispy Bond. Sell your brand, brother. Where could people find you on other podcasts? And more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Shout out to the chat. It's at Crispy Bomb on Twitter, Crispy Bomb 28, Xbox Live. You can find me tomorrow night, 8 p.m. the next podcast. We got 7 p.m. Tuesdays, Retro Renegades, and of course back here on Primetime Gaming. We'll see you then.
Thank you, brother. And Kay Asante, you guys knocked it out of the park and even broke records. You went longer than living split screen, and you know what? That's hard to do. I actually listened.
We're not going to
all of
recreate
the
that. We're not doing that again. No.
I know, but you know what? You got to visit every now and again, and just do those nearly 4 hour podcasts. It was really good stuff. Sell your brand, brother. Talk about your podcast on Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And where can people reach out to you on social media?
Well, thank you so much. And again, thanks to the panel and thanks to the chat. Always lively conversations going on. They're still going on about the various consoles and all that in the chat. So thank you guys. It's always what I'm here for. I enjoy the back and forth. TKO Asante, Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation. As Boom mentioned, we had almost a 4 hour podcast last week. But you know, we're trying new things and as you guys probably know, those of you who are here, who are the hardcore gaming community, the gaming gods provided last week, and we really had to talk about it. So it ended up being a very long thing. As I'm sure you saw, Boom, we're also trying some different topics and trying to add different things into the mix there. You know, I really want to talk, and Everborn, this might be homework for us for the weekend. I really want to talk a spoiler conversation about the Cyberpunk 2077 TV show on Netflix.
2 episodes.
Runners.
Yeah,
Bro,
I heard it's
oh
amazing.
my God,
it's amazing.
Yeah. I
Great
really want to
show,
have a
great show.
conversation.
But also,
about that.
did you hear CDPR talking about 1 million players a day?
Yes. The show is so good that it got people to go back into the game.
You see what happens when you actually make a good show?
You know what I mean? The show was like, because of Netrunner, it kind of did one of these.
It sparked interest in the game. Absolutely. Well, that happened with The Witcher. Remember when the Witcher series came out? Yes. People started buying the game again.
Imagine if people like the Halo show.
Stop it. Anyway,
Master
yes,
Cheeks,
either this week,
as he's known,
Master Cheeks, he says, either this week or an upcoming week, expect some spoiler conversations from us about that show and a few of the other shows going on. Andor's out there for those who are into that. I might be watching that too because Rogue One was one of my favorites. You know, we have a lot of stuff going on, so check us out. Gaming Circle Podcast, GCP. Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know, you follow us, we'll follow you back. When we go live, you'll know when that's happening. And we thank you guys so much for checking us out. We'll be back next week.
Yes, absolutely. And the Everborn Saga, sell your brand, brother. Tell everyone where they can get the Everborn Saga. Check out all the different, books that you got going on, as well as, of course, you're making a game in the background, a side-scrolling beat 'em up. I can't wait to try it. Talk about it.
Yeah, man. Everborn Saga everywhere. That's Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, mostly Twitter, but most importantly, everbornsaga.com. Follow us on Twitter if you want to get updates about the game we are working on. If you go to everbornsaga.com right now, you can see the books that we produce, as well as one of our games, so you can get an idea of the quality. The animation work is finally coming in, so I'm going to be doing I keep promising this, but it's coming. I'm going to be doing a live stream soon, showing you guys how to make video games, because I think more of us should be doing it, because we've got the skills and the talent between all of us. So everbornsaga.com, check that out. That's where you get the books. If you're into fantasy, you're into anime, you're into 90s era video games, that's what Everborn Saga is all about. So come on, check it out.
Interesting. And definitely check that out for sure. Scott Gamer Dude drops an outstanding and very generous $10 super chat on our way out the door. He says, I'm here late, damn. Well, hello, panel, and hello to you, Scott. Thanks so much for the generosity, but thank you for joining us. He says, let's see, I watched this on demand later. Yeah, it's also going up on the RSS feeds. You can get it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all your favorite stuff. As soon as I'm done with this show, I download it and upload it, so you'll be able to listen to it there. He says, wondering if you heard about the Game Pass. Heard about Game Pass. 30 days of Ultimate equals 18 days of the new family plan? ? For people that are paid up. I have not heard about that. I'm going to be adding 2 people to my thing, and if I have to pay a little more, I'm paid up until May of
Well, I think
2025.
if I'm not mistaken, I think he's talking about the fact that since they tested it out in Colombia, I think it was Colombia and a few other
Colombia,
places,
yes, was one of them. Yeah,
the,
Ireland and Colombia.
the people who had a full a year worth of Game Pass Ultimate was prorated down because of the fact that it turned into the family plan. So presumably, if you have a single account that you've paid up for X amount of years, they will prorate it so it equals the amount of the family plan. But we won't know that until they announce it here and they make the prices official.
Either way,
Right
I'm adding 2 people to my thing, and
Yeah.
I'll just wait for a sale and just do what I do and just load up. And I think everyone should do that as well, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are almost at 3.5 million views on YouTube, which is
awesome.
Bonkers for 5 years, under 5 years. Obviously, we're heading to 11.2K. Thank you for that. We could not have that kind of success if it wasn't for you folks that are subscribed, that keep watching and checking out the shows that we do. And obviously, if you know, I am streaming 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We are launching a new show, which is still being worked on right now for Mondays. It's going to be a 70 to 90-minute show. I'm going to be doing that with Fuzzy Belvedere and Web Dave on Mondays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mrs. Boom actually came up with the name of the show. I can't wait to unveil it. And Ben Kenobi is doing the artwork as we speak. And of course, a big thank you to all the super chats. Those really do make a big difference, as well as channel memberships, because it allows us to give back. And this Friday, we're doing a $500 giveaway, 10 $50 gift cards for a total of $500 in digital prizes. And all you got to do to win is be in the chat during Breakfast with Boom. We go live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm trying to get King David to pop on. Maybe we'll talk about some dance move Jim Ryan stuff. And we're all still waiting for the rebuttal from Microsoft. Hopefully that will happen this week. But listen, I'm going to close out the show with something, folks, that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.